Let's shift gears now. Experts, academics and nature lovers travel from across the world to experience the flora that South Africa has to offer. And with 3 global biodiversity hotspots and more than 20,000 species, it really is no wonder. This week, there was again a fair amount of interest in this part of South Africa's heritage as part of a social media campaign, hashtag Black Botanists Week, aimed at giving black botanists across the world the space to connect and share stories and expertise. To tell us more about the campaign's traction here in South Africa, we're joined by one of the country's best-known botanists, Rupert Koopman, who is also the conservation manager of the Botanical Society of South Africa. Rupert, thank you so much for joining us this morning from Cape Town. Hashtag Black Botanists Week. Now, I saw a hashtag a few months ago, hashtag Black Birders Week. We've seen a couple of these environmental campaigns on that, looking at giving people spaces in places that they perhaps have not always been given space in. Tell us very quickly what was behind this hashtag this week.
Yeah, so it was definitely to do with the international solidarity, which was started with the Black Birders Week movement. And these are our bona fide movements because they are registering as a non-profit, the Black Birders Week in the States. And it is around kind of looking at how we as black indigenous people of color are perceived in nature, and also how we have been there anyway and belong there, because that hasn't always been self-evident. And but I think for me, the celebration and collaboration aspect was the biggest thing. So the fact that we could all hop online and under the prompting, so the first person to drive it is Dr. Tanisha Williams, who's also got some Cape ties through her work. So when Black Birders Week went off, a couple of weeks after that, she was online and on Twitter and said, "Oh, this is so cool! I would like to do the same for botany," and was in. And then some of us slid into her DMs, and we had after that, there was a Zoom meeting for the 12 kind of inaugural members, and it really was a pleasure, basically, you know, because at this moment in time, we're all sitting at home and working from home, and we're not out in the field necessarily, especially us in South Africa, and just the way this got organized, and it's again, you know, I'm a big fan of female leadership, and I don't think there's a lack of correlation between the fact that there were 75% women on this organizing team.
and it actually got done.
Yeah.
Now, Rupert,
no, totally.
I spoke earlier about experts, academics, you know, they almost make a pilgrimage to South Africa to experience the various biodiversity hotspots here in this part of the world. But you guys didn't want to make Black Botanists Week just about the experts, those who've gone and studied botany and science and the like. It's really about nature lovers in general. And what caught my eye following this hashtag this week is that you also had something like how many plants. And it made me realize that just myself, as somebody who's never studied science, we use plants every single day in different shapes and forms, vegetables, fruits, of course, as well as spices. Do you think enough has been done to help people understand that that too is part of understanding the importance of our country's biodiversity and its love of botany that we all need to pay attention to?
Sure, and I think just at the beginning of what you're saying is the whole kind of exclusive nature of botany, and it's not just a South African problem. But, you know, it's weird for me as someone who's been in the field for a long time, and I'm very comfortable and so on. But through the movement again, we discovered, I don't even like using the word discovered anymore, it's quite a Columbus term. we found that that people really do not get the fact that they could be calling themselves botanists and so forth. So it very much was a case of people saying, oh, but botanists are people over there working on plants there. And we had people from South Africa who have got tertiary degrees still thinking, do I have the right to call myself a botanist? And when we had our Zoom meeting with Black Botanists organizing team, it was basically we're throwing it open to anyone who likes plants and works on it, because we want to also, we know that the space has been perceived and is an exclusive one, and we want to democratize it a little bit more. And then, sorry, the second part of the question.
You've answered it already. Can we talk a little bit then about your personal experience? You talk about these spaces being exclusive in different ways, both among scientists and the different fields that they study, but also if you look at the South African context, that a lot of these spaces have not been welcoming to people who look different, if for want of a better term. What has been your experience as a black botanist and nature lover? You find yourself as the conservation manager of the Botanical Society of South Africa. One of your main jobs is to make sure that your expertise is passed on, but that circle of nature lovers is expanded and that people feel included and feel comfortable coming to these spaces, like the beautiful Kirstenbosch Garden that is your office, one of the most beautiful offices in the world, probably. Have you seen those spaces evolve from a personal level to, let's say, when you started out professionally 15 years ago, compared to when you started going on hikes with your father as a 7-year-old?
Yeah, definitely. Like at the beginning of my career, I was regularly a case of only brown face in the room, and it's really nice to see now that there's a bunch of youngsters coming up. But I think also it's a broader thing in our communities. Is, I was kind of second year in university before I discovered that the thing that I'm doing now would be a career, and so that's why I'm always out there on various platforms, and I also chair something called the Fynbos Forum, which is where I met a lot of botanists and understood how Fynbos and people get together. And there I can also see, like 15 years ago, the DJ was just playing AC/DC and there were some middle-aged guys bouncing on and now, just from a music point of view, we've thrown it broader, and it's a good party now in between. And we're also learning things and we're networking. So maintaining those kind of platforms is the same sort of thing that we want to be doing at the Botanical Society, is using our infrastructure as one of the most venerable environmental NGOs in this country to use our branches and use our talents of members and new members to get together around our love of plants and democratize it a lot more. And as you said right at the beginning, this pilgrimage that people have from everywhere else to South Africa, we don't necessarily have that level of privilege, or not privilege, sorry, pilgrimage from inside the country. And so, it's very much that we're sitting on these jewels, and through our actions, we're eroding it at the same time. And that's where we really want to be putting our emphasis.
Well, let's hope, seeing as perhaps international travel might not be happening anytime soon, South Africans will take advantage of that and really start exploring the gorgeous country that we have, especially from a natural and flora point of view. Thank you so much. Rupert Koopman is the Conservation Manager of the Botanical Society of South Africa. Do yourself a favor and go and follow him on Twitter. You really will learn some fascinating things about the world around you.